Hello there. Okay, so this video demonstration is all about how to draw the nose. It's one of the hardest things to draw on the face, so it's kind of worth showing you some tips and tricks for being able to represent it in a more realistic way. I've got my skull model here just to kind of show what we're dealing with really. If we were to strip our skin back and see the structure, the underlying structure of the nose, as you can see that the bony part of the nose kind of really only comes part way down the bridge of the nose. So if you feel along the bridge of your nose, you should be able to locate that point where the bone actually then turns to the fleshy part of the nose, which causes the most difficulty really in being able to draw it, because it is really just a kind of fleshy protruding matter, which is harder to draw than say an eye, because it doesn't have any kind of definitive edges to it. It does on the skull, but it doesn't in flesh. So we need a few solutions to being able to draw it quickly and easily, but I thought that would be useful to show you that. Okay, I'm just going to put our friend to one side there. Okay, usually when people start to draw a nose, let me just zoom in a little bit. What we normally have is we start with, because we're so used to just using line to draw, we tend to just start by drawing a long line that kind of deviates out like this, and sort of we've got this kind of this shape going on, you know, because we're trying to represent something three-dimensional in 2 dimensions, and this generally seems to be the only way we kind of know how to do that. And it's kind of a leftover from childhood. We tend to kind of revert to the symbol system of representation. Okay, but we all kind of know that doesn't really work, you know. So it's worth kind of trying to really look at the nose, because it doesn't have any, you know, definitive, you know, lines like an eye would or a mouth would. You know, if we go back to our skull, you know, the bone part of it, the hard part of it, would end about there. So you've got all of this, which is kind of just flesh and gristle. Okay, so we need to kind of break this shape down as much as we can. Okay, and we're really only dealing with, the tricky part is this part contained here. Okay, so we need a few sort of pointers of how we can break that shape down so we can represent it a little bit more realistically, if you like. So I'm going to put that to one side, and as you can see here, let me just zoom that out slightly. Okay, I've drawn out this face shape, and I've put in a few markers here. So I've put in my eye line and the mouth line, and I've put some ears onto the side of the head, because that's really important in being able to determine where the nose sits in context to the face. Okay, it usually is between where the line of the top of the upper eyelid is. So that would be the kind of top of the nose, if you like, where it sort of sits in between the brow line there. Okay, and then we have the end of the nose is usually, if you're looking straight on in a mirror, you would notice that your nose generally ends where your ears, your earlobes end, okay? So that kind of gives us an idea of where we need to put the nose, but very often, you know, we get a little bit confused. The nose feels like the longest and biggest object on the face. Okay, so it's often kind of confuses people really. So what you'll find, again, if you look in a mirror, the edges of your nose, so the edges that kind of meet the cheek, the sort of edges of the nostril, usually is in line with the tear duct part of the eye, okay? So that basically here, this area here is where our nose is going to have to sit in the drawing to make sense within the context of the face. Okay, so as I was saying, we need to try and sort of break this shape down a little bit more. So I'm going to zoom in just so you can see. Do that a bit faster. Okay, so here this sort of crosshairs part here, we want to just draw a sort of rudimentary circle like this. Okay, so if you were seeing it from the side, you know, this would be this part here would be the very tip of the nose around here. It varies from person to person, obviously, because all of us got different features, but very generally that would be where the end of the nose sits. And then we want two kind of interlocking circles. So we want a smaller circle on the side there to represent one side of the nose, and a smaller circle on this side, roughly about the same size, well, same size as you can get it, really, on that side of this central circle, okay? Obviously, you know, this is really just helping us to break it down, and we'll need to do some rubbing out later on. Okay, so I'm going to actually take the rubber and just lightly go over that so we can just see those marks, but they're not really strong. Okay, so we don't really draw lines as such, but I am just going to draw some soft shaded lines either side of those nostrils there. Okay, so that sort of represents the crease where the side of the nose meets the cheek. Okay, and I'm going to continue under there. Now usually at this point you've got your nostril going into the nose like that, so that's usually represented. I'm going to shade that area sort of fairly darkish, just to represent the feel of a void, if you like, in the flesh. So that's like a, we know that reads as a hole almost. Okay, and then I'm going to take a soft line just to link those two darker areas together. Okay, so you can see there, so that's kind of describes that kind of fleshy area of the nose. Okay, so at this point it's kind of quite useful to try and imagine a light source. At the moment the light here is fairly flat-ish, but so I'm going to imagine that I've got a light source coming in from the right. Okay, so I'm going to imagine that my light source is coming in from here. Okay, so if the light source was coming in from here and this was the bridge of the nose, and the tip of the nose, all the light would be on this side. And because light travels in straight lines, when it hits the side of the nose, it won't quite get over the bridge of the nose, which would mean that all that side of the nose is put into shadow. And the way we would represent that is to take your pencil and just on the kind of edge of the lead of the pencil, where if you can imagine the top of the nose, where the one side of the bridge of the nose, I'm going to start to put some shading in all the way down. I'm going to take it all the way down to the tip of the nose there. And because we know that that's a kind of circular shape on the end, I'm going to take the shading a little bit darker around that part, just to kind of further define the roundness of the end of the nose. And you know, if the light source is coming in here, it's probably going to cast this part of the nose into shade. You know, this nose is coming out like this from the picture plane. This is what we're trying to achieve. So I'm going to shade it to kind of try and represent the light source. Okay, coming in. Right. And then from there, I'm just going to put a little bit of shade on this side too, just to kind of define the other side of the nose a little bit. So the light, you know, because there's a shape there, and we're sort of trying to emulate or describe, if you like, just with our pencil and applying tone and shading, we're trying to describe that play of light over a three-dimensional object, which in this case is the nose on the face. Okay. And as you develop your drawing, that would obviously that would extend around to the rest of the face there. Okay. Okay, so once you've got that far, you can really kind of rub away all the lines that you don't need or want. A lot of the time the shading itself will take care of that anyway. And there you go, you have something that looks more like an actual nose on the face that's quite different to the one we started out with. Okay, so basically that's it. That's our nose drawing. Okay, so hope that helped. Do comment and, you know, ask questions if you'd like to. It's always nice to get a bit of feedback on these things. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one. The next demonstration, I'm going to be tackling how to draw the eyes. So I hope you'll tune in for that one. Thanks very much. Hi there everybody, just wanted to say thanks so much for watching my video. If you found it useful and entertaining to watch, please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to hit the notification bell to get updates when I'm posting new content. Thanks very much, and I'll see you on the next one.